Hello. Welcome back. And we've got more backstory. It's more than just a big call out to Phantasy Star 1, though. There are a lot of interesting details that kinda changed my perspective once I looked more closely at what's in this town. Termai is a town that is all about Alice. Termai is not in Phantasy Star 1. It seems most likely that she just briefly stopped by, and the townspeople later latched onto that as a central part of their identity. I will say, though, that the suggestion that Alice should have tried talking it out with Dark Force is kinda weird. Now, a couple of people mentioned the kind of worship of Alice that happens in this town. Alice is not a mute protagonist in her own game, but no one gets too many speaking opportunities. Even so, I never got the impression that she wanted to be worshipped by anyone. The more I think about this, the more disturbing it is to me. Now, this bit of backstory is very interesting. I can't find more info on who these people are talking about. My only guess is that it's Rune. The armor pieces describe magic, and there isn't anyone else I know of who could do something like that. How powerful is that guy, anyway? Well, I'll also do a little bit of off-screen for all of the usual selling of old gear to make room for buying more of the new stuff. But even so, I won't have quite enough cash to buy the new psychic mail for everyone. It means I lose a little bit of flame resistance, but I think it's worth the trade. That seems a little extreme if you ask me. What we're seeing here is what happens when people remember a few select actions of an individual and forget everything else, including their humanity. It's something that seems to happen quite a bit with historical figures, especially after this amount of time. The Great Collapse probably erased a lot of records that would give people more insight into who Alice was. And also, this town is a tourist trap. All of this stuff is... It's junk. The Alice sword is a prop, it's useless. The Paralimate thing is of no use as an item either. But I bought those two things anyway because, well, they're going to be useful for non-combat purposes sometime from now. Huh. Well, I'm sure that'll make more sense later. I don't think Meow would like being called a pet. I'm not convinced that Alice would like someone calling Meow a pet either. And just to confirm, yes, we seem to be carrying the Land Rover in our pockets. This is Phantasy Star 1 music that was very easy for me to recognize because the remix version of it sounded pretty much the same as the non-sound chip version. And we have enemies from Zio's Fort. Well, we've gotten better levels and gear since then, so they aren't too threatening. Oh, that's a fairly advanced attack. That might have been a fair bit of trouble before we had upgraded our armor. Well, these encounters do imply that Zio has taken an interest in this place. It's quite likely that he considers it important, so we just gotta be aware of that. And this is apparently the most interesting Diemate ever. There's just something that happened in real life while I was recording, and what you gonna do? Well, there is this new addition. It's something that should be treated the same way as its color change version from earlier. It's fast, it has a special attack that does a lot of damage, so it's best to use some extra measures to kill it quickly. And this is the first dungeon that is, in fact, a little bit of a maze. I have to stop a couple of times to think about where I'm going and whether I missed anything. Oh-ho! Oh-ho! That is an item that I'm going to hold on to. That is an item that provides strong healing to everyone in the party, with the exception of androids. And there's one or two occasions in the game that I can think of where it would be worth using that. Not for a good long while, I promise. Now, haunts, those are our first ghost enemies, and right now they're a little tricky to deal with. Sue works just fine, but Chaz's technique points are, as always, a bit of a limiter. I actually like the idea of a character who can do a lot of strong stuff with their special skill points, but they're a very limited pool. And by lots of things, I mean Chaz also becomes a fairly competent healer as he levels up. But I very rarely use his technique points for that. There was a time where I would look at a character with both offensive and recovery spells or techniques and think, well, I'm never using their offensive spells at all. It took a while for me to realize that, hey, using offensive skills to prevent enemies from dealing damage to you is also a good use of that sort of thing. It took me a second to realize that going around and up would just take me up in one big circle and not accomplish anything. That was an accidental retreat, by the way. Pressing the arrow button once too many times, it happens. Oh well, things are gonna be easier now. He makes fun of Chaz's legs but not dem eyes. Don't ask me. How does he know about this? Well, if we put together the pieces from what we saw earlier, it would probably be because Rune put it there earlier. That's my best guess, anyway. Now Rune is even stronger than he was before. Level 20 instead of a 17, because, hey, it wouldn't be right if we had completely caught up to him at the time he rejoined us. He's learned 3 new techniques as well. Seals is not especially useful, but Giwat and Gifoy? Yes, yes please. It also means we have combination attacks again. To be fair to the game, we were only really without them for 1.5 dungeons, but that was plenty long enough for me to miss them. And I was just checking the respective agility of the characters so that I would put the slowest one first. So let's get that blizzard ready. And while we're at it, who knows, we might need the fire version at some point. And if you're thinking, why haven't I showed that off yet? Well, it's because right now water is better. Have no fear, I will show every combination attack in the game at some point. But first, let's see what Blizzard can do when Rune is involved. I think using normal Watt would have been fine, but there's a thing about combination attacks. There are some that will accept higher versions of techniques, like Watt, Giwat, Zan, Gizan, and using the higher version will power up the resulting combination. Although I said I could use the lower level ice attack, the truth is I have never run out of technique points on Rune. I've played this game a few times, and no, I cannot ever recall a time where Rune has run dry on his techniques and magic attacks. And that's why I can safely equip him with a shield, even though that means he can't physically attack, because he will never need to. Now, there are a couple of staff weapons that increase his magic attack. I cannot, off the top of my head, think of a point in the game where that boost is needed for him to do enough damage to kill things, though. And at the time I equipped the laser barrier, I realized, oh wait, that's why I would have liked to hold on to the other one. Because dual shielding is a thing. I'm sure I'll find another one that I can equip on him later, though. And this dungeon, you immediately find better armor for Rune. They could have just had Rune start with it when he joins you, but okay. And that's how most of the encounters go now. My apologies if any Windows sounds leak into the recording while I'm doing my thing. Oh, speaking of combination attacks... Phonon plus Air Slash does let me do that to a nasty random encounter if I need it. And although Phonon has very limited uses, it, I think, is justified because Demi is pretty fast. And with a little bit of luck, you can get her and Chaz to act before most of the enemies do, like in that encounter, and just do that. Do what combination attacks usually do to random encounters. I also think that the name Silent Wave is a pretty cool attack name. But that's just me. This, honestly, it might have been better to run, but... So most of the encounters in this tower are a joke, but 3 haunts, not so much, and I want to kind of demonstrate why. Yeah, they hit pretty hard. And I got a little careless. That corrosion thing especially. If you get a triple corrosion, that could be pretty close to a party wipe right now. Right there, I mean. If I was going to play through this again without the intention of showing off the combination attacks and such, I'd probably just not use any of Chaz's technique points except on haunt encounters. And why am I healing up? Well, the room geography should tell you that. Yep. That minion of Zio? Yeah, probably couldn't get at that chest before Rune broke the barrier. Which, in my estimation, is more evidence that Rune is the one who just stuck it there for safekeeping. Well, I'm sure you've noticed that the number of bosses is starting to pick up now. Granted, 2 is not exactly a trend, and wow, that hurts. That hurts a lot. Now, barrier is, of course, very important, and Rika's Deban is also very important, but now I'm in a bad situation. If Chaz gets attacked before Rika can move, there are problems. So I decided to have him heal himself, because I really need Saner up for everyone else. If he gets killed, I still have that medic power use left. And now I should be able to reliably heal before the boss moves. Speaking of times when I was ignorant about mechanics and how important they are, there was a time when I was playing this game and I didn't understand why agility up was important if it didn't help your ability to avoid attacks. Yeah, fortunately I now understand that being able to react reliably to what an enemy does is pretty helpful. And now Rune is taking his signature role in every major encounter in the game. He is a blasting wizard, and I probably shouldn't even have to tell you that he is very good at blasting. I also forgot to mention Demi's Recover, even though I showed it off a little bit in gameplay. It is designed on purpose to be such massive overkill that it will never fail to fully recover all of the user's health. And there's lots of uses of it. Well, that sounded rude. I think androids might be strong against fire, but I don't know if they're strong against water. They might be. I wasn't paying attention. But they also carry a robot weakness, which is thunder. And since they're also weak in general to non-physical attacks, that means that enemies that use thunder are going to be a big problem in the future. There we go. I think there's at least a little bit of need to be cautious of Zio. And there are certain cutscenes that I don't think I should talk over. Now, that doesn't mean I have nothing to say about what happened. There's not enough time for me to put forward all of the ideas, but for now I'd like to mention something that my brother noticed, which is Chaz and Rika were kind of in their civvy non-daytime clothes at the time of that second part of the cutscene. Because, well, they were trying to sleep. Rune is enough of a veteran to not even try. You'll notice he was in his day clothes. Well, I guess we got a fairly major dungeon ahead of us. And probably lots of other things too. I guess I'll see you then. As always, thanks for watching. See you later.